my name is Adrian.exe. Welcome to Content Analysis 5, where we take different pop culture topics and analyze them. In this episode, we are going to analyze the psychology of Negan, one of the most popular characters in The Walking Dead, both in the TV and comic book series. Specifically, we will see if Negan from the TV series is really a psychopath. If he isn't, we are going to diagnose him using the criteria established by the DSM-5. I'd also like to mention that this series is influenced by fan suggestions, and if enough people want to see a certain subject covered, I will do my best to cover it. Let us begin by quickly covering a bit of his backstory and describing his personality. Feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps below. We don't know exactly when or where Negan was born in the TV series. We do know that he had one wife that he cheated and lied to, and who was terminally ill. He wasn't able to have children with her, although we do know he helped children, presumably as a gym teacher. After the apocalypse began, Negan becomes a survivor of the outbreak that was started due to Walter White's meth, and becomes a primary antagonist through half of Season 6 and all of Season 7 and 8, as well as acting as a borderline anti-hero in Season 9. He is the founder of the Saviors and led them until his downfall in Season 8, in which he lost the war against the militia composed of the formerly subjugated communities that he used to control. Those formerly subjugated communities include the Hilltop, the Kingdom, Alexandria, and exclude Oceanside. Oceanside, however, did later join the fight against the Saviors. After his defeat, Rick chooses to spare him and keeps him in prison at Alexandria. He was imprisoned for 7.5 years until Gabriel, a reverend and jailer at Alexandria, accidentally left his prison cell door open. Negan escapes and revisits the sanctuary, and returns after he realizes that there is nothing left of his empire. Before being locked up, Negan's personality can be described as charismatic, confident, manipulative, cruel, violent, and can be said to possess a morbid sense of humor. He is shown to be a strong and effective leader, as well as an excellent strategist. This can be seen by how his followers react to him when in his presence, and the fact that he has kept about 100 survivors alive. Negan acted as a dictator, with no one questioning his authority. Although he has been shown to be brutal, as when he killed Abraham and Glenn, none of his acts have been without purpose, and it doesn't appear that he enjoys what he does. He appeared to be remorseful and sympathetic, but genuinely believes that he has to punish Rick and his group for killing his people in order to keep his power and continue adding to his network of communities. Specifically, in this instance, he killed Abraham to form an understanding, and as a form of punishment. He killed Glenn to ensure that the group knows that no act of disobedience will go unpunished. The disobedience in this case came from Daryl. Although he has taken resources from other groups by means of extortion, he often has only taken a fair portion.
I just want to point out to you that I'm not taking a scrap of your food. Slim pickings in here. And I can't be the only one to notice that you got a fat lady in charge of keeping track of rations, can I?
While in power, he implemented sets of rules, similar to how a government would set up laws, in order to maintain order in his community and the communities he extorts. He's a stickler for the rules and goes out of his way to ensure that people understand that punishment for breaking these rules is not personal. He does show some respect to those that demonstrate valor and defiance towards him because he sees them as potentially useful assets. He dislikes devious and disloyal people and believes his harsh way of governing will make others strong. He especially dislikes sex offenders and isn't particularly fond of killing women or children. Like most dictators, Negan maintained power through fear. People are fearful of him due to his unpredictable nature and the lengths he is willing to go, psychologically, to instill a sense of helplessness and obedience, as explained by Eugene when he says,
"Somebody has to pay the price. Even if you're willing. From all we've seen, it's not a lock, you'll be the one."
Another personality trait that contributes to the fear he is able to implant is his ability to read people and exploit their weaknesses. Notice how he's able to discern that Rosita had a relationship with Abraham and that Carl was Rick's son. Now, this wouldn't be a video of Negan if we didn't quickly talk about his emotional attachment to Lucille. Negan has an emotional attachment to Lucille because it represents the love he had for his deceased wife, as demonstrated with his conversation with Gabriel.
My first wife was a real wife. My only real wife. Till death did us part.
Lucille doesn't just act as an extension of Negan's personality, but an extension of the physical connection he had with his wife. Negan also assigns human traits and emotions to Lucille. This assignment is called Anthropomorphism. The anthropomorphism of Lucille demonstrates Negan's basic need to experience an emotional connection, most likely love due to the origin of the name being his deceased wife. He also assigns human traits to Lucille to cope with the loneliness, the loss of his wife, and every other negative experience that accompanies the apocalypse. Some of this is revealed to us through his conversation with Jadis, when he says,
My wife's name was Lucille. She got me through. I didn't give her shit, and she got me through. Just life. Regular life. The bat got me through this. So I named it after her.
The anthropomorphism can be seen multiple times throughout different episodes, like when he asked Lucille for strength, or had Lucille riding in the passenger seat of a car, as if it was a real person. After he was placed in his prison cell, Negan's personality can be described as low-spirited, vulnerable, powerless, unconfident, and just a shell of his former self. Although he has managed to become friendlier and sympathetic to those in Alexandria, and managed to make friends with Judith, which helps with his loneliness. An example of his change can be seen when he expresses genuine sympathy in the form of an apology to Gabriel, because he is not able to be there for Rosita. He says,
I'm sorry, man, I didn't know.
It appears not to be driven by revenge, as he did not attempt to hurt anyone when he escaped. Strong evidence of his change is more prominently displayed when he acts selflessly in order to save Judith. During his rescue of Judith, he injures his leg and continues searching for Judith. Once found, he gives his coat to her to keep her warm, and even makes saving the dog a priority. Before we can determine that Negan has any type of personality disorder, he must meet the general criteria for a personality disorder, established by the DSM-5, which are the following. A. An enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of the individual's culture. This pattern is manifested in two or more of the following areas. 1. Cognition, i.e., ways of perceiving and interpreting self, other people, and events. 2. Affectivity, i.e., the range, intensity, liability, and appropriateness of emotional response. 3. Interpersonal functioning. 4. Impulse control. B. The enduring pattern is inflexible and pervasive across a broad range of personal and social situations. C. The enduring pattern leads to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. D. The pattern is stable and of long duration, and its onset can be traced back at least to adolescence or early adulthood. E. The enduring pattern is not better explained as a manifestation or consequence of another mental disorder. F. The enduring pattern is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance, e.g., a drug of abuse, a medication, or another medical condition, e.g., head trauma. Does Negan have an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of his culture? Yes, although his impulse control can be debated, he does perceive himself as more unique to others. His emotional responses are intense, and he treats most people as underlings. Is his enduring pattern of behavior inflexible and pervasive? Yes, he is shown in multiple episodes to act relatively the same. Does the enduring pattern lead to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning? Yes, because of his position of power and the way he governs, he is unable to really get close to anyone. Is the pattern stable and of long duration? Most likely. This is where we must make an assumption about his earlier life, because we don't have sufficient information on his adolescent years, and debatably his early adulthood, depending on his actual age. The assumption in this case being that the enduring pattern determined by criterion A was present either through his early adulthood or adolescent years. Is the enduring pattern explained by another mental disorder, or attributable to substance abuse or mental condition? As far as we can tell, no. We only have the information we are given in the show, and he hasn't been struggling with drugs, any other medical condition, or mental disorder. Since Negan has met the majority of the criteria, and there isn't a required minimum, it is safe to say he has a personality disorder. Now let's talk about what type of personality disorder he may have before his imprisonment, and the evidence from the show that supports the diagnosis. First, I want to make clear that I don't think he's a psychopath. or sociopath, and the APA believes these terms are synonymous, which is why they are both blanketed in the DSM-5 under Antisocial Personality Disorder. However, without knowing enough about Negan's childhood or adolescent years, and because antisocial personality disorder in the DSM-5 requires the individual to meet a specific diagnostic criteria, not only as an adult, but also as a child and adolescent, we cannot say that Negan has ASPD using the DSM-5. However, if we assume he expressed similar traits as an adult, he would have to meet the following criteria. A pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others, occurring since age 15 years, as indicated by 3 or more of the following. 1. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. 2. Deceitfulness, as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. 3. Impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. 4. Irritability and aggressiveness, as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. Reckless disregard for the safety of self or others. 5. Consistent irresponsibility, as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. 6. Lack of remorse, as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. 7. Lack of remorse, as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. B. The individual is at least age 18 years. C. There is evidence of conduct disorder with onset before age 15 years. D. The occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Starting with criteria A, we know that Negan respects and follows his own rules, that there is no longer any governing law, and social norms have also changed. This is evidenced by his constant adherence to his own rules, and when he says,
Lucille, well, you know how she is. She is a stickler for the rules.
Negan has infrequently been shown lying or being purposely deceitful. When he is, it is for the purpose of survival, with the exception of lying to his wife. This is partially evidenced by his statement to Rick's group during his introduction, when he says,
Now, I don't know what kind of lying assholes you've been dealing with, but I'm a man of my word.
Negan seems to always have a plan in mind, and rarely acts on impulse. This is evidenced by his ability to maintain his composure and think ahead during extreme circumstances, such as when Rosita tried to kill him, and instead of immediately retaliating by killing her, he implements an alternate solution, which in this case would be killing Olivia and taking Eugene. He has been shown to engage in physical confrontations, become irritable and aggressive, so he does meet the sub-criterion. He does show concern for the safety of others. This can be seen when he tries to negotiate with Rick. During that time, he says the following to Rick.
You get Hilltop, Kingdom, Alexandria to fall in line, and our arrangement is back in place. And you are forgiven, Rick.
Negan is responsible when it comes to taking care of his own community, as evidenced by the fact that they were still very much alive when he was in charge. As previously stated and shown, Negan does show remorse, both before and after his incarceration, when he apologizes to Rick's group and Gabriel, respectively. He is above the age of 18, so criteria B is met. However, even if we assume criteria C and D are satisfied, it is unlikely that he has APD, because he lacks so much from criterion A. It is important to note, I am unable to interview Negan, obviously, and therefore cannot utilize the psychopathy checklist revised, which is used to diagnose someone as a psychopath. I'd also like to mention that just because a person is a killer does not necessarily make him or her mentally ill or a psychopath. For example, John Wayne Gacy, who killed 33 people, was declared legally sane, and in comparison, Negan has only killed 26 people. Furthermore, research has shown that although having a mental illness may increase the chances that a person may be violent, that only a small portion of the violence can be attributed to the mentally ill. So if not APD, then what personality disorder could he have? I believe that he may have narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, which according to the DSM-5 is a pervasive pattern of grandiosity and fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts. In order to be diagnosed with NPD, the person must meet 5 or more of the following criteria. 1. Has a grandiose, sense of self-importance, e.g. exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. 2. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. 3. Believes that he or she is special and unique. He can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. 4. Requires excessive admiration. 5. Has a sense of entitlement, i.e., unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. 6. Is interpersonally exploitative, i.e. takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. 7. Lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. 8. Is often envious of others, or believes that others are envious of him or her. 9. Shows arrogant or haughty behaviors or attitudes. Does Negan have a sense of self-importance? Yes, this can be seen anytime he speaks to the Saviors. They take a knee and must identify themselves as Negan. Does Negan believe that he is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions? To a certain extent, yes. The fact that he has an inner circle, rarely speaks to community leaders face to face, and sends his lieutenants as delegates to handle business concerning the subjugated communities shows his belief that he is unique and a cut above the rest. Does Negan require admiration? Yes, although this point may be arguable. This can be seen when he burns Mark's face. Not only does he expect approval of the community of his actions, but he requires people to take a knee and recite a type of pledge. Is Negan interpersonally exploitative? Absolutely. He takes advantage of every leader of every community he extorts. Is Negan arrogant? Yes, he honestly believes, since his first appearance, that he can subjugate any and all communities. An example straight from Negan himself.
I am bigger. I am better. And I got a bat.
Based on the fact that he met the minimum 5 criteria required to be diagnosed with NPD, it is fair to say that he has NPD. We do have to make one assumption here. We have to assume that he still fits the diagnosis of NPD as an early adult. This is also a fair assumption. Not only does he meet the criteria, but no other assumptions need to be made other than the one previously stated. Additionally, research has shown that personalities don't change much when humans move from the early adulthood stage to the middle adulthood stage, compared to significant changes seen when humans move from the adolescent stage to the early adulthood stage. Now let's move on from pre-incarcerated Negan to currently incarcerated Negan. Negan experiences positive psychological growth or post-traumatic growth following his imprisonment. According to the definition, post-traumatic growth is a positive psychological change experienced as a result of adversity and other challenges in order to rise to a higher level of functioning. The traumatic event that occurred in this case was his incarceration, and the growth is his change of heart. Although it is tough to say that Negan is in remission and no longer affected by his NPD, we can say that losing everything he had changed him in a positive way. He appears to interact differently with the people of Alexandria. Some examples not mentioned previously is his attempt to help Judith with her homework, his consultation with her about the situation with Magnus Group, his expression of sympathy towards Michonne regarding the kingdom's loss at the hands of the Whisperers, and his compliment to Michonne regarding her bravery in crossing through the Whisperers' territory. In conclusion, no, it doesn't appear that Negan has APD. He does appear to have NPD. However, after his incarceration, he appears to have an altered attitude. Can we say that he will remain this way or relapse during Season 10? Well, we will just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching Content Analysis 5. If you like this type of content and want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, do not hesitate to leave a comment below. Remember, if enough of you want to see a topic covered in this series, I will create a video on it. Thanks again.